Hey, welcome to another episode of the Local Marketing Beat brought to you by Uberall. My name is Christian Hustle, and as you know, we're on a mission to try to continue learning and discover what is working in AI search nowadays. And for that, on this episode, we're joined by Luma, technical product manager at Uberall. And she's been really diving into everything, the future of search, what's working now, what does this mean for brands and multi-location brands. She has tons of experience in SEO, LLMEO, right? As we continue to figure out what is the correct name to name this. There's also GEO out there in the industry, but at the end of the day is how does this impact multi-location brands? And she's here to guide us through what's happening at Overall in this aspect, what she's seeing on trends about our locator and local pages product. So with that, Luma, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. Every time I get a chance to talk to you, we just geek out. I mean, we're both very analytical and we talk about trends and theories, right? We just had a theory session yesterday, which is awesome. So I'm excited to set the stage here. Let's talk a little bit about this transition from traditional SEO to GEO, right? Which is probably an easier way to call it. So how can you explain to the audience, what is this transition looking like nowadays, 2.5 years into this journey?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, I've been researching this since like day one, and it's actually already grown so much since the last 2 years. And so I just want to kind of also put my answers in a very simpler term so everybody can understand it. So I want you to think of us like evolving and navigating this as a library, right? So for years, we've focused on SEO, which is search engine optimization, but we'll just keep calling it SEO for now. Just use the acronym. And that was used to like making sure your books have the right title, they're placed correctly on the shelves in this library so people can finding it using a catalog, all of these things, right? So it's about ranking high in Google, in Google and being found this way. Now we have GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization. You've also might have heard it being called AEO or AIO. It's all these different acronyms get thrown out, but let's just settle for now on GEO again to make it simpler. So very similar, but they have their own lanes, right? So this whole new ballgame now has now evolved, right? So instead of just finding your books on this shelf, you're now using AI as a librarian and you're asking it questions, right? So again, I'm just using this library as an analogy. So you're asking it, what's this main idea about this book? What does this book, have? Or how do I find this type of book that I'm looking for, right? So AI now acts as a librarian. It reads the cover. It reads all the content. It reads the first chapter, the second, and the third. And it gives you a summary of everything that you're looking for based off what you prompted it, what you've asked it. Right? So GEO is about making sure your content is so clear, so structured, and authoritative that AI, the librarian, summarizes you accurately and favorably to the end user, right? And then this is where LLMEO, or the large language model engine optimization, gets a big one, comes into play. So this is where now the users ask the librarian about what about this book do you recommend on this topic, right? So this is where this component comes into play, and it's about ensuring your brand is well regarded across the entire library, right? It's not mentioning other books. You are being mentioned in other books, you are being cited in other journals, you're being talked about, all of this stuff. So this is kind of where like the AI assistant, like a ChatGPT or a Gemini, comes in and actually cites you as a definitive source. So they
I really like this librarian thing, right?
Yeah.
So because my mind keeps going to this, and you tell me what you think. But it's a comparison between, like you said, go in there and do your own research on these 100 books on the shelf, versus coming to a librarian and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a nonfiction book that it's pretty cool, trending right now. What do you recommend?" And it's like, boom, here it is, right? So making that decision for you.
Exactly. And I think if you put it in simpler terms like this, It's a lot easier for us and for everybody across the board to understand how each component now sits in its own lane, right? So we're not seeing SEOs going away. It's really now becoming the foundation. This is your book, right? It's just now being summarized by GEO. It's being recommended by LLMEO, right? These two are the ones that are playing now in this. So if your librarian can't find your book in the first place, you're not going to be recommended. Right? So if you are like a multi-location business doing this successfully across hundreds of thousands of locations or stories, this is what we call LPO, location performance optimization, right? It comes into play. It's the strategy of applying all of these three components now and making them work for you at scale. And that's where it's going to be an important part.
Think that it's funny because a lot of marketers had just wrapped their heads around SEO, right? It finally got to a point where like everybody understands it, everybody knows what SEO stands for, which was funny when you mentioned the definition of the acronym, just because we're so used to it now. And but it feels at the same time, this is where it gets very controversial because we talk about GEO, and a lot of gurus out there are talking about it as if it was like a whole new practice, a whole new process. And I know the answer to this, but I want to hear your opinion, right? Is how different are these two, right? Because we're talking about very technical things nowadays on these two terms, but I want to hear what's your take between SEO versus GEO.
Yeah, it's actually a literally multi-million dollar question, right? We're just seeing it evolve in real time. I would say GEO isn't just stepping stone. It's a fundamental change in the destination, right? So with traditional SEO, the goal was to get customers, right? So you get clicks on your websites, you rank, they click, they visit, they buy, you close that sales cycle. Like that's literally step by step by step. The SEO was getting you, your product or your website or your listing in front of those customers. With GEO, AI often provides the answer directly in the search results. So, meaning the user may never really visit your website. The goal now shifts from earning a click to winning the AI summary space, right? So, for a single business, I would say GEO is about being the chosen answer, right? For a large brand, implementing GEO strategy across like every single location is your new LPO, right? It's the step you take before the LPO. It's the core modern strategy you must have. So think of it this way: SEO gets you in the game, but GEO gets you how to score the points with the customers, right? So just to throw some numbers at you, just so it's like we're giving you actual data here. Years ago, we did an analysis on Google and OpenAI, and it was cited also across the web by multiple other companies. So 2 years ago, for Google, for every 2 pages Google scraped or indexed, there was actually one user visit. Now, for every 18 pages scraped, there's only one visit. So that means
Wow.
Google is crawling more and more and more, but the ratio of people getting through to the websites from Google is shrinking, right? OpenAI, which is ChatGPT and AI assistants, 6 months ago, user per visit, it was like one user per visit was for 250 pages scraped. Now it's 1 to 1,500 pages. So
Wow.
OpenAI scrapes a massive amount of content to train and fuel AI answers, but very few actual clicks are passed back to the original sites. Summarize that what that means to you, or as you as the end consumer in plain English. Crawling is up, but traffic is down, right? So, like, what does that mean? Both Google and OpenAI are consuming so much content, but they're not sending proportional traffic back. It's the shift from web search click now to AI answer to no click because it's all in one space, right? And for businesses, your site may not be read by humans as much anymore, but your bots and your AI is actually they're reading a lot. So that's going to be a huge change from an ROI, and it's going to be more and more important for you now.
Yeah, the zero click keeps coming up just because of all this that you're talking about, right? Like you don't really need to visit a website, right, to get the conversion. But don't get me wrong, because I think, and we can talk a little bit about misconceptions. You still need that website. You still need those local pages because that's what's training AI, right? So, what other misconceptions have you heard of while talking to customers, brands, and even during your research and managing this product?
Yeah, there's three big ones. The first one I would say, the first misconception I quite often hear, it's like a black box. AI is something I can influence. You absolutely can. It's by creating clear, authoritative content, and I'll explain what that really means because I know those words get thrown out a lot. And it's like What does that actually mean? It's to ensure your business information is consistent. The second belief that I get is my SEO is enough. Like I've been doing this for 20 plus years on my page, on my websites, on my listings. It's good to go. Businesses think high ranking will actually translate to the AI space. It doesn't. Even if you're dominating in search rank right now, that doesn't mean that you're on a dominate in AI space as well, because the engines don't understand that type of content text. They understand content, right? So they're hungry for specifics, for formats, for traditional, actual content. Conversational FAQs are going to be highly, highly. And then finally, the biggest one, it's all about my website. GEO, I don't need it. It's enough. I have my website. I'll get my sales there. And it's really about the entire digital footprint of your business. And that's the part where you need to start kind of shifting if you're even a single or a multi-location business, right? Think of it this way. AI synthesizes information from everywhere, right? It's no longer just Google, it's Yelp reviews, it's local news articles, it's conversations that are happening on Reddit and Quora and all of this stuff, all these directories. So it's everything all in one place. So let me just give you now a perfect like real-time example just to put you in
Okay.
that place, right? So imagine you walking down the street and you want to look up best ice cream shops near me, best chocolate ice cream shops near me. I'm a chocolate ice cream kind of girl, right?
Yeah.
So an AI search engine isn't going to look at the website that ranks for chocolate ice cream and like give you like a traditional search. It's going to synthesize all the information across the web, proximity, what you are searching for, and all of that. So again, for this example, let's say, I own the shop Scoops and Swirls, right? So if I want AI to recommend my shop to now this person that's looking for best ice cream store near me, if I'm near them, I would want to really make sure my business is optimized. So deeper on-page content. So what that means is don't just have your ice on the menu, chocolate ice cream. Provide very high quality descriptions. So you would want to go with our Velvet Noir chocolate ice cream is handcrafted in a small batch of 72% chocolate. Like you're really describing that actual product, the service. Right now, AI reads that and it knows exactly what this is. It's no longer having to figure out what is chocolate, what is ice cream. It's described, right? Build a conversional FAQ. Build what is it about your
Yeah.
chocolate ice cream that makes it different, right? And put it that, and then structured your backend schema. There you go. You've optimized for that.
I mean, with this description, I'm already craving ice cream, to be honest with you. But, and going back to the librarian scenario, right? And applying what you just said, I mean, it is the same thing as having, you have your 100 books on the shelf and they don't have a cover, right? They are just plain and simple. It's like, how can the librarian pick it, right? If they don't have the cover, they don't have the synopsis in the back, they don't have a title, right? They don't have boot photography. How are they going to judge it, right? So I like this example. We might keep going with this. You
And
got
let's
something
definitely keep
here.
going with the librarian. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
in this case, if you are the one you're looking for a specific type of story, then the book should have the title. The back description should include as much detail as possible without giving obviously the plot away of the book. It should be referenced across other places. Maybe other readers write about it and say, I love this part of the plot here, or the characters are so amazing, or just something like that, right? So your book is being conversed and talked about everywhere, not just in one place, very like fixed in a way. You want
Yeah.
it to be
Yeah.
very conversational words.
And when you're saying everywhere, what kind of platforms are we talking about? Because obviously we covered a little bit on website locator and local pages, and we can go back to that as well. But would like to hear, what other platforms that you've ran into or you found in your research that is impacting or influencing these results on AI.
Yeah, there is a hierarchy that we've identified. Obviously, for any local business, the absolute undisputed champion here is going to be Google, right? That's the highest priority. That's the first one that gets crawled. It still is the top one, all of that. Right behind that is Yelp. And that's because Yelp isn't just a place you leave reviews, it's a sentiment model. It's where a lot of customers leave reviews about what they've experienced, how they liked, what they liked about that, all of that stuff. So it's massive. TripAdvisor and OpenTable are great for restaurants right there below that. And then obviously you have, your local community. So if you are being talked about by your local paper, by local influencers writing about all of that stuff. So that comes into play as well. So, but when you want to optimize for LPO at scale, the strategy obviously doesn't change. It's the execution now that becomes like completely a little bit harder because you're now having to make a little bit of adjustment, similar to what we did 20 years ago with SEO, right? A slight shift. So the challenge now is ensuring every single one of your locations has perfectly optimized, up to date, and actively managed profiles on all these key platforms. It requires a centralized strategy with decentralized execution, is what we're saying. So you're
Hmm.
basically also empowering like local managers, for example, to gather reviews for you, to maintaining brand consistency across from corporate, all of this stuff. So this is if you are quite large. But if you are a smaller shop, you can absolutely do that all in one space as well.
Speaking about larger brands, multi locations, how does locator and local pages fit into this whole strategy with both, LPO, SEO, AEO, right, or GEO, whatever we want to call it? Because I'm very curious to see, as you product manager of this product, on your side, how do you see it fit? How do you see it serve its purpose? And potentially, I mean, I don't want to give the answer away, maybe, but how is it going to? I think it's going to get more important, right? So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's never been more important than it is now. I've always said even if you have one location, have a local page because that's a place where you can centralize everything about your location, about your business, your offerings. This is where you can have really descriptive language. This is where you can also build your FAQ. You can do that also on Google directly on the listing, but it's also important to add that on your page as well so it can be crawled. If you're a multi-location, having a locator with local pages and a sitemap and all of these things is also going to be very important because now your Google is going to be crawling. It's always been crawling that, but it's going to be looking at how many locations you have, the proximity of those, the offerings of every single one. And then this is where all the components of GEO comes into play of how they're searching. So if you do have, for example, a menu, if you're like a service oriented person or a restaurant, if you have a menu, don't just put menu names, give detailed descriptions on the front end and the back end. If you're uploading a picture for that menu offering, don't just write, ice cream. Write a short description tag, put that in the name of the file and upload it that way. So there's correlation between every single thing. So it's going to be very important to have, and it doesn't have to be super expensive, anything like that, as long as it's structured correctly, which you can definitely do easily now. It's not like 20 years ago where you had to like hire designers and developers. Literally, you can just do it in many plug and play type of platforms. We offer that as well here at Uberall, but do it. I would recommend you do it.
Yeah, and we're talking a little bit more technical side, right? Obviously, the page, assuming that you did beautiful menu content, unique photography, everything visual is taken care of. What about the technical side? What's the benefit of these pages for multi-location brands specifically?
Yeah. So schema markups is going to be important, tags, all of that stuff, because keep in mind, and this is where nothing has changed, right? You
Hmm.
create something. I want you to think of it this way. Humans read the front end, the tech or the networks or even AI reads the back end. So, and the back end doesn't understand human languages like we do. Like when you tell me I like this, if I'm looking at what you're saying you like, I already know immediately you like what you're holding or you like what you're showing me, right? Networks, all they don't know. They just read text and context, and that's it. So if your backend doesn't include the details that you want to essentially put out there in the tone that you would want to put it out, and a tone and text that is easily digestible by these, AI and Google and all of that, it's not going to be helpful. So this is where you'd want to optimize your backend to be specific for what Google and AI is looking for. And your front end could be optimized for what human eyes are looking for. But the two they can definitely run in tandem. They don't have to be completely different. I've seen many websites have extremely well thorough text on the back end and slightly tweaked on the front end for human consumption, but not much different.
Yeah, and I mean, just for context, schema markup or data structuring is nothing new. It's always been a thing. It was part of SEO, but it was one of those like best practices. It was more advanced, right? So a lot of websites didn't really added it unless you had an in-house SEO or you had an SEO agency. You didn't
Yeah,
really think about this. But
exactly.
just from my perspective, just in these 2 years with AI, is just now is no longer a best practice. It is a requirement. Like if you
Wired.
really want to, right? If you want to thrive in this situation and in this new landscape, it is a must.
The simplest terms I could tell somebody is whatever you decide to put out there, whether it's on the front end or a back end of your website, your listings, whatever, you need to make sure that it's understandable and digestible by whoever is reading it, whoever your intended audience is. So it goes back to like marketing 101. What is the intention of user when they look at this? Is it to salivate on ice cream? Is it to go look for this book, to read this book, search for this book? Yes. So then you must include that in your context. So that goes back to the original example I gave of if I'm looking for chocolate ice cream, what should the description be? Be as imaginary and vivid as possible with the description so that AI knows immediately this is the best chocolate ice cream here. I found it on this menu. Let me put that in front of you. That's how you want to think about it.
And I heard that you ran a test, GEO optimization test with a frozen yogurt business. And I want to hear, what did you do? What did you test? And what did you find out on this? Because I think everybody is going to benefit from just listening to how are you able to influence, or what did you see that influenced the most?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did. I've chatted with a few customers and I even went outside and decided, I've asked, hey, can I just select one of your locations and look to optimize it as much as possible for AI? And they said, absolutely. So we looked at the numbers prior and we started to look at the numbers after. So it was actually a fascinating experience. What we did is, I'm just going to use their name, just a fictitious name here, call it Yogurt Center. This is why yogurt ice cream is, again,
Yeah.
keeping
Top
that.
of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So the intent of this experiment was purely focused on GEO improvements for one of their locations. That was it. Nothing else, right? We didn't just though tweak the keywords. It was foundationally completely different from start to finish. We went through their entire content. We created detailed descriptions for every single offering that they have, from yogurts to toppings to even where the chocolate was being sourced from, making sure that it was ethically and all of this stuff, right? We built a very comprehensive FAQ page answering almost any question that their customer or end user could be asking. So we kind of beat them to the punch. And in just 1 month, actually less than a month, we started to see this number, but 45 days is exactly when we started to pull the number full all the numbers. We saw 20%, 27% increase in the clicks to call, a 24% jump in clicks to view, find a location, or look at the menus and all of this stuff. And the average on time web page skyrocketed to 126%. So, grant
Wow.
their numbers were pretty low to begin with, but just with small tweaks in very short time, you can just really see that in engage. So it was telling us that we were getting not just vanity traffic, we were attracting the right intentional user that they could actually close the sale now, and it was all in one spot.
And you mentioned this was for one location, which, by the way, those numbers look great. When you're talking about the frequently asked questions, was this a new page or was this part of the local page, or how did you put it all together?
Yeah, so what we did is for that specific location, we built it all on that one page because it was a single
Wow.
location,
Yeah.
right? We didn't move it away from its original content or locator or anything like that, but we were very intentional with that one page. Now, I would still recommend building an FAQ page on its own so it can be cited as FAQ, but we tagged it correctly on the back end. So, any crawler can define, like when they're crawling that page, it says FAQ, and then we structured every single question correctly and all of that stuff. But so you can go about it either way. You can actually even select frequently asked questions, maybe for specific locations, and have them on that page right then and there. And then just have a more centralized FAQ space for the rest of or all of your locations. So it's like a repository.
I love it. This is awesome. Now, this is where it gets very complex, right? Because assuming that, you saw the success on AI responses and, the librarian now is recommending this location. There may be converting. They might be walking through the door with 0 clicks, right? Completely untraceable and trackable. And at the end of the day, like, it's probably going to look at the revenue, right? Look at the sales for the last 60 days or 45 days. Was there any spikes? Because, we keep talking about this. It's like, it's hard to track everything that's coming from AI unless they click and they go to your website. Then yes, we can see the visit, right? But I mean, what's your What are your thoughts or predictions on how is that going to change, hopefully, in the near future to where there's a little bit more tracking or a little bit less of a black box?
Yeah, that's a fair question. When there's always an initial boost in like a published, or a fresh content or anything like that, you always want to take that with a grain of salt, right? It could be just the initial like excitement, and then it maybe would whittles down, or it just kind of baselines, and that's also perfectly normal. With this specific customer, we saw that it actually maintained that spike, and it came down about, I believe, like 4 or 5%, but it didn't go all the way back to what it was, right? So it remained consistent. So it gave them a confident boost now to take a look at the rest of their locations and go about that. But in terms of this, I'm confident that these results are sustainable, right? And the reason for that is that we weren't using short term tricks, we weren't lying, we weren't doing it. We were just rebuilding the foundation of authority and helpfulness, right? That's all that AI is looking for. All it wants to find is to help get you the answer. I'm sure you probably heard about this, that AI always wants to please, right? And that's really what it is. You ask it, it wants to give you an answer. So if it doesn't, it's going to go look and find somewhere. And so this creates a very like virtuous cycle, right? High quality content gets you featured by AI, and this drives engaged users to your site or even keep them right then and there. And then those engagement signals no longer like time on site or anything, like tell Google that this page is valuable. It tells AI that this is actually valuable, which can turn into a traditional boost in SEO and rankings and all of that stuff. So everything goes hand in hand.
After this experiment that you ran that was very successful, obviously metrics looks really good. My point was I think they're probably better. We just can't track them, right? People could have just walked through the door, right? And we can't really track that. So if you look back at what was done, what you tested, what you did, what would you tell a multi-location brand or a franchise that they should focus on or do for the next 90 so they could replicate this maybe with one location at a time just for testing, right? So they can compare. Where would you start?
It's so for multi locations, I would definitely say look at your LPO strategy, your location performance optimization. You go back to the traditional SEO stuff, which is, are your pages all correct? Are they owned? Are they managed? Is a naming convention correct? Your NAP, all of that stuff. If it's all there, perfect. Then you want to make sure that you're also engaging with consumers on reviews. Are you getting reviews? If you're not, start asking customers to leave your reviews or create some kind of not incentive, but start asking customers to talk about you. And then maybe also engage locally with your local, I hate to use that word, influencer, or
Yeah.
even to local communities. Give back to the communities where you get cited and you get talked about by the news and all of that stuff, right? So that's kind of where it goes. But then the next piece would be take a look at your websites, take a look at your pages. Are your pages structured? Are your structures working for you? If not, do a quick refresh. It's not a problem, right? If again we go back to the ice cream piece, look at all your menu that you're offering. Are you providing descriptive explanations,
Yeah.
right? Every single menu offering on your page. If not, it might be a week or so of an investment, but take it then and there and start working on your presence and authority after that. So that's where I would absolutely focus is do like a comprehensive, analysis of where do you fall right now in the fold. Maybe play with AI search as well. See, are you even being recommended? If not, okay, there's some work to be done for some of these specific prompts and all of that. But it goes back to short answer is your listings need to be managed. If you don't have listings on Google, Yelp, what have you, start creating those. Make sure you're getting reviews. You're engaging on a social level with your community, with your consumers, and then your local pages. Make sure that they can be cited, that they can be viewed, that can be read by not just Google but also AI.
Let's talk about theories just to start wrapping this up. Where do we go with AI search in the next 12 months? Where do you see it going? What's going to continue changing? What do you think?
Yeah. Looking ahead, I would say there's going to be a huge shift, right, in investment and focus, not just from you as maybe a business, but also across the board. We're seeing everybody talk about AI, everybody talking about this authority component. So it's going to be more of a regular conversation for a while. So we're not going to say, again, I'm going to reiterate, SEO is not going away. A traditional SEO will become now more what I call like utility work, right? It'll be keeping the lights on. keep maintaining what you have, right? Which you have to do. You have to do it. It's essential. It's going to be, but it's no longer going to be just the primary driver for growth or competitive advantage. The tables are going to be a little bit different here. You have now GEO and LMAO, but for this focus, we'll just do GEO at the table now as well. So you want to now, both in time and budget, shift to now start including those components of GEO into your plans. So that means maybe less money on things like link building and more money on high quality content and creation, structured data implementation, digital PR, or even reputation management, right? And any business with like a physical footprint, actual store, LPO will evolve into like a core marketing function for you, right? It's not just an SEO niche task anymore. You want to integrate all three disciplines of this to manage the brand's entire digital presence, and make sure that you are now being visible by AI search.
That's awesome. Well, Luma, I really want to appreciate you making the time to chat with us. I love this conversation. I think it was very insightful. Love the experiment. Keep those going and keep us
Sure.
posted if you find more things and insights that you can share. But with that, how can people follow you and connect with you and learn more about what you're doing and working on?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm definitely there. I'm actually working on a few postings right now. We've also did develop some articles with Uberall. I'm happy to provide you the link if you'd like to share. There's multiple about the study where it drives into all the details of what we did, shows you exactly almost step by step what we went about. So if you want to utilize that for you as a brand want to use that for inception or inspiration, feel free to do that as well. But yeah, you can find me anywhere. And
Yeah, I mean, if you can share the link, we can drop it in the description box so people can access it and go check it out. But again, thank you so much, Luma, for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching. If you want to learn more about LPO, get LPO certified, visit the Overall Academy at academy.overall.com. With that, I'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.